And showtime! Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing this week?
I'm doing well, Rich. I'm doing well. All things considered, with, natural disasters and things that are going on around the world, I am not complaining at all. So, how about you?
You know what? That's a great outlook, actually, right now. I really at any time, but it's a good time to be grateful. And I will say, as we're recording this, they are mopping up or just beginning to dig out from a hurricane in Florida. And we both know a lot of people there who are very much on my mind these days. A lot of them, I'm sure, are without power, and I just hope they have homes and are safe and good. And
Yeah,
hope to be hearing from them in the days coming up here soon.
Florida and Puerto Rico. I have a client right now, an active consulting engagement with a client in Puerto Rico, and just it's yeah, no. Thinking about all of our friends, colleagues, and clients.
And as we do that, let's go ahead and think about our top story of the week here. And it is actually kind of a think piece, Eric. This is not a headline from this week's news. This is actually some research that the folks at CompTIA published a little bit earlier this year and highlighted in a blog post and a press release that came out earlier this month in September. And this is really our first opportunity to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to start out by quoting Carolyn April, who's the Senior Director of Industry Analysis at CompTIA. And here's a quote that she has from the press release. After 2+ years of being on the defensive, simply trying to stay in business, SMBs are back to strategic revenue generating thinking centered on innovation. And this is going to be the key point. They did some research. They went out to SMBs in the US and talked about tech buying priorities and patterns. And the key theme that comes up here is SMBs are looking to innovate, and specifically, they're looking to invest in technology that's going to help them with that. So 38% of the SMBs CompTIA surveyed want to innovate and implement new ideas and innovations. That's up from 26% a year earlier. 28% of SMBs want to spend on technology that boosts innovation. That's up from 19% last year. You are seeing the arrows move up in terms both of innovation being a priority for SMBs and technology that enables innovation being a priority for SMBs. So obviously, as that quote I read alludes to, when the pandemic hits, everyone's just trying to keep the business afloat. You've got people working from home, and so there's a lot of tech spending going into laptops and webcams and Zoom and Teams and all the technologies that people need to keep the business running and keep people connected to one another. And there was a lot of that in 2020. There was a lot of that in 2021. What we're seeing based on this data in 2022 is SMBs are ready to go on offense. They want to grow. They want to innovate. They understand the importance of technology and driving innovation. And the channel pros they're going to take their business to, Eric, are the ones who share that understanding. So the message here for the channel pros in our audience is, just like your customers, you need to be thinking a little bit more in terms of strategy and innovation and growth and bringing those kinds of ideas to your customers if you want to maintain a strong relationship with them now, because increasingly, as we gradually put the pandemic behind us, that's what they're going to be interested in. That's what they're going to want from their technology partner.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. And this is an opportunity for the channel pros, as you mentioned, to take the lead here and really deliver on that promise of guiding their clients through these, technology conversations, these road mapping sessions, these QBRs, these strategic business meetings, and really make that the focus of the value that they deliver to their clients. And that creates a much stickier relationship with clients. Of course, they're going to do the day-to-day, infrastructure maintenance and user support and things like that. But, as we've discussed on this program before, Rich, a lot of providers can do that. The differentiator that the most successful partners that I work with leverage and utilize is moving up in that strategic value ladder kind of perception of their clients and leading them through kind of these waters and being prepared and ready now to take advantage of this opportunities for their clients and their new prospects to invest heavily in growth. And if they're not leading the conversations with those topics with their clients and prospects, they're missing a lot of opportunity and potentially may be perceived as not keeping up with their clients' needs. And having that perception of the client say, you know what, I think I'm outgrowing you because you're not really delivering what I need now, and then signing up with a competitor. So we've seen that in the past. So now is the time to really begin having and scheduling these meetings. Even if partners haven't done that before with clients, it's a time for them to show that they are now pivoting to address this opportunity and the needs of our post-pandemic buyers, something that we've also talked about on this show before.
You know what, Eric? That is actually a perfect segue, a perfect pivot to your tip of the week. Let's go ahead and move on to that right now, because in order to have those strategic conversations with your customers, you've got to have time. And to have time, you may need to hand off some of what you're doing right now to somebody else. So, what's your tip of the week, Eric?
So the tip of the week is really kind of what you just said, Rich. Delegate more to others to increase your company's value. And, as you know, Rich, I work with lots of partners, and I had a recent conversation with a partner that was, thinking about, hey, what's my exit strategy? I have some other opportunities I want to do. I'm thinking of maybe exiting the organization. And how do I do that? And my guidance to him was, well, what I'm hearing from the conversation, I'm just kind of fast forwarding you to the end, was you really want more time to do the things that you love to do. You said you love working with clients, you love selling, you love having those QBRs. And really my perspective was, if you try to exit now, you're probably going to miss, some valuation. I encouraged him to work on a couple of things in the organization. And I said, look, what I think you should probably do is delegate more of the noise of what you're dealing with to others, maybe even bring in someone to become maybe an operations manager and cultivate that and nurture them through to maybe taking over more and more responsibilities, ultimately maybe being able to replace you doing the day-to-day operational things, allowing you to do the things that you enjoy and giving you the time to do that, as well as some other interests that you may have. And of course, meeting probably one of the top 5 needs of a buyer of a company, being that there needs to be no day-to-day requirement for the seller or the buyer to run the company. They're looking to buy an organization that can operate in the absence of the seller or themselves, right? So this ticks off a lot of boxes and really reinforces, the focus that we all as business owners need to appreciate is, look, I need to replace myself anyway in order to achieve the highest valuation. But, I don't have to look at that only from the point of exiting. I could appreciate a lot better work-life balance and do things that I enjoy doing by delegating more of the day-to-day things that I don't like doing to someone else, and then grow the business that way.
It's the classic working on the business, not working in the business kind of thing. And if you're going to do that, it takes time. The work that you are doing in the business still has to get done, though. And so it can be, I'm sure, a little scary maybe, or certainly counterintuitive, that I need to spend more potentially on hiring somebody, like you said, like an operations manager, in order to grow the business. But that can be the thing you need to do in order to have the time to make those strategic decisions and drive the business in a way that you can't when you're closing tickets.
And in many situations that I've been involved in, Rich, the what's being perceived as an expense in hiring someone to come on to do all those things actually becomes a profit center, because it allows the business owner or whoever it is that is being replaced to focus on higher value things, higher services, selling more, going deeper and wider, and taking advantage of the QBR opportunities, right, that we see now, that we just talked about in the lead story this week, and really leading and growing those relationships and revenue opportunities with existing clients. So if you think about it that way, spending time, probably the person who is the most valuable, who costs the most per hour, spending time on noise is actually preventing them from achieving, and transferring that time into probably the highest revenue generating activities that they could do.
Delegate. It's the word of the week, folks. Think about it a little bit. It leaves us with time for just one more story, though. And there are some themes in these one more stories that we do, Eric, and we like to talk about, comfort animals on planes and so on. We do talk sometimes about Guinness Book of World Records and some of the wackiness around that. We're going to quickly look at a low and a high version of Guinness Book of World Records setters. So at the lower end, a 14-year-old from Alberta, Canada, recently set the Guinness Book of World Records by pulling 22 socks onto her foot in 30 seconds. Now, 14-year-old, she wanted to get in the Book of Records, and it took pluck and practice, I'm sure. I applaud all of that, but socks on a foot in 30 seconds, I don't know. What kind of record is that? How about this one instead? The record for the highest altitude soccer game was recently set as well by Portuguese soccer legend Luis Figo and a team of international players. This was sponsored by MasterCard because there was money involved. They needed to get a plane and set up sort of a soccer field in the plane and do one of those parabolic arcs, where you're weightless for a while at the top of that. They played a weightless game of soccer at 20,230 feet. I do not know what the previous record was for high altitude soccer, but I gotta believe 20,000 plus feet is way, way beyond it.
Yeah, I think that record is going to stand for a little bit.
It should be in pretty safe hands. Yeah. I mean, basically, you're going to be in outer space if you go too much beyond that. And even MasterCard can't afford that. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. That is all the time we have for you on this week's 5-Minute Roundup. We're going to be back again next week with another episode. You know what? We are both a video and a podcast these days. So if you happen to be watching us on video, but you like podcasts, go to wherever you get your podcast, whether that is Apple or Google or Stitcher or Spotify, you name it. You're going to find us there. Please subscribe, rate, review. It helps us out a lot. If you are actually listening to the podcast, but you want to tune into the video, easiest thing to do is go to YouTube, look for the ChannelPro Network channel there. Once again, you have the option to subscribe, and you can click the bell icon there and get notifications when the new episodes go up. To read all sorts of coverage of things like research from CompTIA, news and industry developments, get great business growth advice for your company, please visit channelpronetwork.com on a daily basis because we have got great new content for you going up there every day. And to learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, please visit ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, folks, we thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be back again next week with another show. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.